The Great Depression, an immense tragedy that placed millions of Americans out of work. It was the beginning of government involvement in the economy and in society as a whole. The Great Depression was a universal economic crisis that in the United States was marked by extensive unemployment, near halt in industrial production and construction, and an 89% decline in stock prices. At a time of low unemployment with general prosperity and vast differences in income, the effects of the Great Depression were huge across the world. Not only did it lead to a New Deal in America, but more significantly, it was direct causes of the rise of radicalism in American peoples. Throughout the 1930s, over 9,000 banks failed. Bank deposits were uninsured, and thus, as banks failed, people simply lost their savings. Surviving banks, unsure of the economic situation and concerned for their own survival, stopped being as willing to create new loans. This exaggerated the situation, leading to less and less expenditures. Along with the economic crisis at the time, droughts were another very large issue. While not a direct cause of the Great Depression, the lack that occurred in the country in the 1930s was such proportions that many could not even pay their taxes or other debts, had to sell their farms for no profits for themselves. This area of the United States affected was called the Dust Bowl. Because many people sold their companies and farms, they had to find another mode of work. Many companies that were hiring, though, were shutting down. Companies varying from factories to the stock market, as well as just simple agriculture, just could not afford or just couldn't anymore afford to hire anyone else. In this economic crisis, to survive, you needed to travel to find a job, usually for quite some distance. The very few who had money drove cars, as it was still a relatively new technology, but the vast majority had to walk. Very few things were owned by these people. The only thing left to their names were their families and friends. The very few things still owned by these citizens had to be sold. It was the means that it was either these items they owned for food, water, shelter, or they simply starved to death. Unfortunately, not many people had the fortune of having many to their name beforehand. Many did die. Before this economic crisis, America was a large, wealthy country, quite known for it all around the world. People in this great country had an abundance of food, water, and shelter, but to the foolishness and the carelessness of many banks, that was short-lived. After enduring the Great Depression, many people had lost everything they had. They were simply borrowing money they did not own. Instead of being considered fortunate that you had lots of money, during this time, you were simply considered fortunate if you had a job to provide for your family.